Oh yeah, so Sally, he wanted to talk to
Hello
us.
again. I'm very pleased to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
A young cleric stands before you before an easel, his brush hovering over the canvas without touching it. Instead of painting, the young man absentmindedly gazes at the skies of Kenabres, which is still raked, streaked of the towering plumes of black smoke. Finally, he notices you and smiles, breaking off his stupor.
It's a pity I wasn't there at the Grey Garrison to witness your feats of strength with my own eyes. The flash, however, could be seen miles and miles away. Some people were frightened of it, thinking that the demons had blown up the remains of the keep. I, for one, knew immediately that it was a good sign. The light above the city showed us that there was still hope.
Who are you, and how could you possibly be of use to my army?
My name is Solzio Vanek. I am a cleric of Shaylin, the Eternal Rose and the Goddess of Beauty. Yes, I know that many people would consider me useless in a war. This is not a usual war, though. Just consider our enemy. The Abyss and his demons are the very embodiment of everything evil and ugly in the world. Perhaps a disciple of kindness and beauty might come in handy. I have no doubt that we will win this war, Commander. We just have to. It is our destiny. My role is to help you, and all those standing by your side in this struggle, to survive and flourish. Everyone deserves the chance to find peace and happiness in the world that they are defending so selflessly.
What are you painting? Cleric's eyes linger mournfully on the canvas. The unfinished painting depicts a temple crowned with a rainbow-tailed bird, the symbol of Shaylin. 5 people are dressed in robes and stand before the temple, men and women, young and old. They'll gaze back at you with a radiant happiness and joy in their serene eyes.
My brothers and sisters in faith. They sent me for help, and then they saved my life, Commander. If the Prioress hadn't ordered me to escape the city and seek help, I would have died right along with them. Instead, I met Queen Galfrey on her way to Nerosian, and hurriedly returned to Kenabres, only to find my friends dead on the steps of our desecrated temple. I want to draw them the way they live on in my memory. Wise, beautiful, and loyal to their goddess and their city to the very end.
The cell touched the canvas gently, as if painting a friend's shoulder, in consolation. They fulfilled their duty honorably.
They did more than their duty. They gave everything they had to save others. Now it's my duty to make sure my friends and tutors did not die in vain. I will honor their sacrifice by making this world a bit more beautiful and kind.
Remain an artist and listen to the army.
Perhaps I am a true artist, or simply an amateur who defaces canvases in my spare time. My goddess is a patron of art, so painting is part of my prayer, and I put all my heart into my pieces. But I am a cleric above all else, so I must also tend to others. I went to war because here's where I'm most needed. Sure, I could be painting idyllic landscapes and offering empty prayers to my goddess, but that won't stop people from dying. My goddess has no tolerance for false piety.
You want to discuss something with me, right?
Yes, I have a personal request. Before we undertake our journey and leave Kenabres behind, I would like to visit Martyr Zacharias' cemetery for a funeral. It's not far from here, and it's important. I would like to pay my respects to my friends from the Temple of Shaylin who died defending the city. Also, if it's not too much trouble, I would like you to come with me to honor their memory. Their friends and family will be at the funeral, and perhaps the commander's personal presence will bring them comfort. I know that you are burdened by many cares right now, so I understand if you can't find the time. But if you could, I would be sincerely grateful.
It was nice meeting you. Now I have to go.
You must be rather busy indeed. Leading a crusade all by yourself is no joke. I still believe that you are up to the task. This war has been raging for 100 years, but you've given us a chance at victory.
Oh, I do apologize for my hiccups. So I don't know if they get picked up anymore, so... I also do like the fact that our sword is sheathed. That's really cool. Anyway, okay, there he is. So he's a luck and good domain. So what does he fight like? So he fights with a glaive. He currently... Can he wear heavy armor? Well, if he can, I haven't got any on me, but we'll have to check, like, kind of get his, get him built up. He's just a straight-up cleric. That makes sense. Oh, yeah. Please quickly go, There you are. People say that you were deliberately trying to try Queen Gallifrey's patience. Is that true? Does it even matter? All of Mendevian high society has declared war on me. They have despised me, or they're trying to steer me back into the right path. And I'm doing everything in my power to keep them on their toes. I relish the prospect of all the fun this mess in Kenabres will bring. Darian grins from ear to ear. I shall either commission a song about the great Kenabres fiasco from a certain talented bard, or confuse the jewels. The jewelers of a rather tall order. A batch of silver dragon toys with detachable heads. Give me a week and they'll be in every shop in the capital. The heroic dragon who died for our future deserves our respect, not your mockery. She's dead. She doesn't really care. And I shall enjoy 3 or 4 miniatures of her rather pleasant thoughts about the rage of those sacramentous fools who pestered me at the most. So, how'd you like your new advisor? Role advisor? He winces. You also enjoy poking me with a stick, don't you? Imagine it, me, a crusader. My dearest cousin hoped to teach me a lesson. She managed it perfectly. An assignment I couldn't avoid without losing face. This idiotic journey leading me straight into the demon's maws. I could have been on a pleasure boat right now, with the loveliest songstress in Pitax on my arm, and a bottle of finest Keonan wine to keep us company. Incidentally, I blame you for all this. Darian lets out a sigh. Well, actually, I think Cousin Gallifrey is to blame for everything that's happened to me, and I suppose some of my misdeeds could be considered my own fault. But I can hardly expect to take responsibility, can I? Certainly not. Therefore, I shall lay all the blame at your door and plot my revenge. He gives you an innocent smile. Do you also receive a fraction of my unusual power? Looks like it. I genuinely hoped that getting away from you would be the end of it. If your gift truly did come from my immediate, and giving me a smidgen of that power was a very subtle joke on her part. I had no idea that our divine lightbringer of Mendev even had the sense of humor. Don't get me started on my many acts of sacrilege against her, that obscene engraving, the truth about the test of the Starstone. Is the tamest one so far. Well, I should go, because you're a pillock and you're annoying me. Ah, he doesn't have a mythic path. Oh. So I wonder how useful he will be then if he hasn't got a mythic path. So where is Seela? I thought she'd be up here, but I guess she's... Oh no, she's down here at the camp, at the, this camp. Oh no. Wait, where the fuck is she? There she is. There we go. No one's fatigued anymore. What I like to see. Not gonna lie, lay on hands and removing fatigue seems to be one of the best things ever. Commander, a tall man with piercing yellow-green eyes gives you a brief nod. Let me personally congratulate you on your new title and thank you for your time in advance. I am Little Hawkblade, an Inquisitor of the Church of Iamide, the Bringer of Light. I require your assistance in a certain delicate matter involving one of your companions, young Count Darian Arendae. Are you one of Prelude Herolin's followers? Let's face freeze for a moment, but he nods. Yes, of course. But his opinion on his atrocities. It's always silent for a while. Usually people revel such things about themselves, only to their confessors, not to some curious stranger. Still, I did ask for your help, and that imposed certain obligations upon me. Let me put it like this. I spent enough years by Prelude Herolin's side to learn how to keep him from going over the line. The Prelude is an extraordinary man, but he has fallen prey to his own paranoia and a monumental sense of responsibility, which has gradually eroded his razor-sharp mind. He has witnessed so much hideous darkness that he now sees it in every shadow. Yet his strength was, and still is, a shield for all the people of Mendev. That is my opinion. His comrades and advisors are necessary to prevent him from making unforgivable mistakes. What brings you here? I asked you to assist the Church of Iamide in an investigation of the utmost importance. I understand that the leader of the crusade has plenty and other matters to attend to, but please allow me to tell you the details. Perhaps it will explain why I'm calling upon you. Inquisitor's open face instantly reveals his feelings. He frowns and looks through you, lost in thought for a moment. I suppose that you have already heard about Count Arendae's story. I refer to the tragedy at Heaven's Edge Estate. You're going to investigate this old case again, aren't you? Yes, I am. I have several reasons to doubt the widely shared accounts of what happened at the estate and how it happened. You see, Commander, I was among those sent to examine the estate after the incident. I saw everything with my own eyes, and I still remember it clearly, even though it feels like it happened a lifetime ago. Heaven's Edge was a unique place that still carried the spirit of old Mendev before the Worldwound. And yet on that day, it turned into a labyrinth house of horrors, like something only seen in our nightmares. Apologies for the digression. I wanted to tell you about my suspicion. Everything about the incident seemed odd. Why was the only person left alive a young boy with a newfound talent for divine magic? Why was nobody sent to Kenabres for help, even though the agony spanned many hours? We found the demons dead, with their heads cut off. We got into the estate. How were they defeated? How did the disease kill even the paladins present at the estate, who are said to be immune to any disease? If the demons had found a way to penetrate the Holy Warrior's defense, why has this never been repeated since its tragedy at Heaven's Edge? You're the only person who can help me, Commander, because the only living witness of those events is currently serving in your army. Your army's route will take you near the very site of the tragedy. Heaven's Edge has been abandoned and sealed with the potent magic throughout all these years, and only the Count has the power to break the seal. He is unlikely to invite an Inquisitor inside. In any case, he won't like me sniffing around at his family seat. But if you, as his commander, express your wish to visit the estate, he'll be obliged to fulfill it. And I will simply follow you as one of your attendants. There are 100 ways, 1,000 paths, and a myriad loopholes in human lives that the force of evil can use to their advantage. I am not sure which of those led to the demons to the gates of Heaven's Edge, but I do know that it wasn't a simple raid. The kind Crusaders face every day. That incident involved a significantly more powerful entity, and that is why I'm asking you for your help. We cannot be sure that such tragedy will not happen again until we uncover the truth. You've already been to the estate several times. What do you expect to find now? I was young and inexperienced Inquisitor when I first visited Heaven's Edge 10 years ago. My skills have improved significantly since then, and I've paid dearly for that. Litter makes a vague gesture pointing at his scars. My arsenal includes many spells and techniques dedicated to gathering information about people and events. Almost all of them require to be physically present in the place when the event question happened. That is why I must return to Heaven's Edge. Why can't you search the estate yourself without involving me? The estate is abandoned and sealed with powerful containment enchantments that only the Count himself can lift. This is not the main reason, however. The main reason is that Count Arendelle is not officially under investigation by the Inquisition, so I couldn't just break into his house even if I found a way in to bypass the spells. It's a serious matter, Litter frowns. A matter that threatens the reputation of the entire Church of Armada and my own organization in particular. We made more than enough unforgivable mistakes during the Third Crusade, and are still dealing with their consequences. Your presence will forgive my investigation the necessary legitimacy, Commander. But there is more in addition to getting an official permission. I'd also like to bring an independent third-party investigator to this case. Someone independent, but well-versed, and you fit this role perfectly. Did you question Darian himself? I did, but the Count insisted he couldn't remember anything about the incident due to severe shock. He saw the demons at the very beginning, when they appeared at the celebration to announce the onset of the plague and mock their victims. He also witnessed the death of his mother, Countess Selena. That was all he would tell me. The pauses. We found the young Count sleeping like a log on the floor in one of the rest chambers, having drunk about half the family's wine cellar all by himself. There is no reason to disbelieve him on the matter. Do you suspect Darian is hiding something, that he's to blame for the tragedy? I deliberately refuse to entertain any fears or suspicions, so it doesn't affect my investigation. There is a saying among my colleagues that suspicion is the mother of prejudice, and prejudice is the marriage to failure. I can only tell you that Count Arendelle wasn't suffering from demonic possession, the most common malice in our country at the time. Prelate Harlan himself examined the boy right after the tragedy, and didn't sense anything wrong with him. Fine, I will help you. What do you need me to do? Little bows and his head to you with exceptional reverence. Thank you, Commander. Now I ask you to speak with the Count and tell him you wish to see, that you wish to see Heaven's... I can't speak today. Well, okay, I'm pretty sure that's another bot account, but thank you for the follow if you're not a bot account. I'm though 90% sure that's a bot. Thank you either way. Thank you, Commander. Now I ask you to speak to the Count, and tell him that you wish to see at Heaven's Edge. You are not a bot. Oh, well, welcome to the chat then, 12. I'm very used to just seeing people as, like, with random names as bots, so my apologies. Please do not inform me of my presence right away. I will join your escort when it is time to travel to the estate. When we get there, we'll also require your help during the investigation. You will have to follow me, observing my actions as an independent witness. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. I will remain here for a while. Oh, I have to go. Yeah, welcome, dude. Hopefully you're having a good day. Or dudette. Dudes survive. It's fine. Yeah. Hopefully you're having a good day, man. Okay, we've got a gnome to go find. Where is she? If I was a gnome, where would I be? She's not on the map. Okay, I'm gonna actually have to find her myself. She didn't go in my 10. The name Nura. That sounds like it could be a name. Yep. Found her. Ned Commander, how can I help? There is so much I can do. Just ask. Nura looks at you with eyes filled with enthusiasm. She's holding a notebook and a traveler's inkwell. You probably heard about the wound I have. The one that sometimes opens on my chest. Can you perhaps tell me if it's some kind of demonic curse? Yes, indeed. I've been told of your affliction. It appears at the center of your chest. Can you will the wound to open? No? That's a shame. Okay, tell me about this wound. Well, it's difficult to say. I know of the blades that leave never-ending healing cuts, of poisons that stop wounds from healing. I've heard of witches' curses that are rewarded with eternal wounds. But wounds that seem to reopen and heal over time. Perhaps you know of other cases like this? Let me think. In 4671, a Mendevian army corporal had all his bones and cartilage turned to glass. In 4700, a scribe in Kenabres had all skin simply come away like she'd been boiled. Okay, and in 46838, inhabitant insect crawling all over you, do? Locusts? No? Rats, perhaps? Too bad. Nora looks at you with genuine regret. You think it's dangerous? It most likely is dangerous, but you are under the protection of Iomade, Commander. She granted you mythic powers, they say. Surely the Inheritor would not leave you to face this alone. Have you perhaps noted that the wound opens at moments when you waver in your faith? Perhaps it's triggered by doubt. Frowning, Nora looks at you with sincere concern. Thank you for your answers. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you anything useful. I'll be sure to study this matter and consult a few of my encyclopedias. But tell me about yourself. Oh my, I could tell you so many amazing things, and you chose the most boring of all. But alright, about myself then. Where are you from? Iska, a small piece of land that proudly calls itself a country, though it hasn't been independent for a single day in all the centuries it existed. They have a lot of national pride, but all of it's borrowed, always looking for the great day when they can last be free from the rules of Cheliax. The Iskari love talking politics. If two of them start bargaining over the beats of the market, you can be sure that they'll end up arguing about whether an independent Iska will be a monarchy or a republic. I always found it funny to listen to, and a little disgusting, you see. You see, there is a lot of us halflings in the country, but very few citizens, most are slaves. Oh, she's a halfling. I thought she was a gnome. Whoops. I was lucky. I've always been clever ever since I was little. So they sent me to school instead of making me do the grunt work. They told me to count and write, and I was sold as a secretary to Lord Alexila Tresbot. He's the one I left Isgar with, never to return, I hope. How did you come to serve Queen Galfrey? I was a slave of Lord Axela Tresbot in Isgar, my homeland. Oh, what a man he was. He towered over his fellows like a rock over a garbage heap. A true hero. He bored me as a simple secretary, but he made me learn the history of the Worldwound, all of it, one volume after another. He hired tutors me, even sent me to meet prominent historians. He didn't want a simple slave, but a slave with an impeccable education. Lord Tresbot was going on a crusade. He firmly believed that the servants of the gods were weak, and only a follower of Asmodeus could stand against a demon invasion. He took me along as a secretary, historian, and most importantly, he trusted me with recording his glorious story for future generations. Oops. In the crusade, Lord Tresbot performed many brave feats, but even he could not stand against the Worldwound alone. In his final battle with the demons, when my lord realized he was doomed, his final act was to cover my retreat so that I could tell the world of his great deeds. The people have said that what he did was not heroic, just an arrogant moron puffing himself up one last time. But I say, curse their tongues. My difficult journey ended in Mendev, where I found my freedom. There I published Lord Tresbot's biography and... I don't want to boast, but... who am I kidding? Of course I do. The book sold in great numbers, and made me rather famous for a time. That's what brought me to the Queen's attention. She invited me to her court. After all, she was curious about my deceased lord, and she was in great need of an expert on the history of the Worldwound. I hope you'll find me useful as well. So you're not just a historian, but a writer too? Will you write a book about my crusade? Why not? As soon as we finish off the demons, I'll get right to it. Just take care that you don't end up like Lord Tresbot. Do you worship any deity? Makes a weird wry face. When I was a slave in Isgar, they would beat me with a stick and force me to believe in Asmodeus. They hit me and said it was my own good. Ever since then, I don't like temples. I realize there are different gods like Desna or Caden who teach goodness and freedom, but it's just As soon as I smell frankincense, I see the slave driver's stick. Maybe one day I'll be able to turn to a deity without cringing from a blow, not for not being reverent enough. But for now, I let others pray for me. She smiles. Her smile trembles and collapses. Nira sounds sincere, but you feel like she's holding back something back. Thank you for your answers. I have to go. We'll learn about the Worldwound later. I've got to loot your tent first. Now, is she a companion? No, she's not. Thing. A portrait, but not a companion. Not very often does that happen. Apart from, obviously, for, like, really important characters. Do I not have the scabbard on me? Did I actually sell the scabbard? Might have sold the scabbard. That sounds like something I'd do.
Godspeed.
Oh crap, I actually think I've spoke to her about that. Oh crap. Wait. We'll ask her later. Like, whoa. Okay, let's wow, I like how the loot respawns. That's actually really nice. Okay, let's leave. We're gonna leave the camp and I'll show you. Let's go into my tent and then we'll leave the camp a little bit quicker that way. Quickly take those out and look at this guy. That's much better than the glaive he was wielding. He cannot use full plate. Son of a... Annoying. What about study light armor? You won't want that. Might be able to wear that though. There we go. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to press area exit. Oops. Meant to go outside. I'm gonna see if we can find that scabbard.
We march ahead.
A message for the commander. A nice and simple line below it is his voice. I'm the Queen's bodyguard. She sent me to tell you she's arrived at your camp incognito as planned. You'll find her where the minor nightly orders are camped. Come see her if you wish. Come if you wish to speak to her. I'll come at once. Certainly. By once, I mean I'm going to quickly go to Wilsagrams. Quickly rebuy that. And all of those. You. Queen Gallifrey nods to you cordially. Her armor is plain and unadorned. As promised, I enter the ranks incognito, along with a few bodyguards. I have introduced myself as Kitrain, an old friend of yours. I am a knight of a minor order, the Green Crows. We shall see how long it takes for Anevia to sniff me out. Why did you entrust me with Darien? I saw such a wonderful opportunity to teach the Count a lesson, and just couldn't resist. Honestly, I expected you to dismiss him forthwith. The Count would have been forced to return to court a laughingstock. It would have been a truly sobering experience. There is nothing more disgraceful for a Mendevian nobleman than to be discharged like that. Darren Arundai, the Queen shakes her head. He was such a lovely child. His mother, Lady Selena, was one of the most gracious people I've ever met. She was amiable, yet decorous, and truly kind. Bonds of kinship among the nobility are wholly highly practical, and only useful forming alliances. But Countess Arundai managed to become a true member of my family. I suppose that is why I spent so much time believing her son to be a better person than he actually was. His company is a heavy burden. Still, I must admit I am quite pleased that you decided to keep him on as a companion. There is a small chance that once he's had a true taste of the crusade life, the Count will finally cease to mock the Crusaders as cynically as he is wont to do. Let's go. Let's quickly talk to her. You think you fixed our internet? Moved the modem upstairs and now you can connect to the main line? Hey! That's good. I found a scabbard with your family's name on it in the Grey Garrison. Irabeth looks down. The scabbard held the Solomon Hour, my family sword. My father once fought with it, and I took it when I left home to be a paladin. Alas, it was not stolen. I parted with the heirloom, willingly, to help someone dear to me. I never needed expensive healing, and no other way to procure the money. I pawned my father's sword. I think he would have understood. I'm sure he would have given up everything to help the family. I hope to redeem the solemn hour eventually, but there was never enough money, and soon the sword disappeared from the pawnshop altogether. I have no idea who took it. Seems like I have to part from my father's sword forever. That I can see that you truly love her. A look of blush appears in Irabeth's cheek. She nods silently. Irabeth lovingly traces the nameplate and print on the silver scabbard lever. My parents were loyal servants, yet it wasn't enough to earn them a title or a coat of arms. Still, however humble our name might be, it is worth something. I don't know if I'll ever see Solemn Hour again, but at least I'll have it scabbard back. Thank you. It's hard to believe your origin is so humble. You deserve an noble title more than many who merit them. Irabeth's cheek blushed low. Thank you, Commander. It's an honor to hear that, especially from you. Every noble family begins somewhere. You must have heard the recent story from a stone land in the River Kingdoms. Just imagine coming from nowhere and making it all the way to a royal crown in just a few years. Sometimes I wonder what happened if I managed to distinguish myself somehow, but then I push away such an unworthy, selfish thought, of course. We don't fight for ourselves. The fate of the world's at stake. And yet, Irabeth's blush deepens, and she falls silent. Allow me to ask a few personal questions. So where are you from? I was born in Kenabres. I grew up on a farm just outside it, but my way back home lay at the end of the long and winding road. It took me years of traveling throughout foreign lands before I came to be where I've always belonged. So how did you become a paladin? Because I've already asked this and I accidentally skipped through it. A bitter smile appears on the half-orc's face. I don't much like to remember, believe it or not. The story of how I became to be a paladin is also the story of how I failed to become a knight. My parents were Crusaders, may their souls stand together in Iron Maiden's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. He'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, and more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, on this life, he was dogged by sideward looks and whispers. When I grew older and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Kenabres. That was where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Beside the witch hunters led by the honorable Prelate Herland stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows when what they'd have done to a strange girl, green skin. Instead, I went to a smirk that looks like a more painful grimace comes across her face. You can laugh when you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Lastwall, of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted into a country that had been battling orcs of Belkzen since its foundation. There were many there, like me, but we all treated as second-class citizens. The local, my green skin was worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took my vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin. But even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on the doors before I realized the simple truth. I serve Iomedae, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them, so I left as a paladin, but not a knight. How did you come to join a knightly order? I left Lastwall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the River Kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Somewhere I thought I was just wasting time. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time, that my true place was in Kenabres, but I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't even want to think about going back, but in the end, divine providence had brought me to my senses. It happened in Taimon. I was tracking a gang of bandits, which my employer suspected was a cover for Rasmarin spies. I managed to find their lair, but instead inside I found something far more dangerous than spies, an unholy temple to Zon Kufon. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, the person who was destined to become my wife, Anevia, but that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread out of all of Avistan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Temple of Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Kenabres, and were among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would be tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone, and Anevia was eager to destroy the cultists as I was. Anevia and I hurried to Kenabres. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved. The half-orc smiled warmly. You know her way around working locks, tailing people, and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. To be defeated. Alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. You know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Can you imagine that while Prelate Herlin was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security? The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first, she planned to disband the order in disgrace, and then offered its command to me, and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. I can't imagine the followers of Zon Kufon in alliance with demon worshippers. Didn't they hate each other? They should, but Bahamut's minions are masters of deception. They manipulate Zon Kufon's butchers as eagerly as Iomede's knights. The cultists from that unholy temple didn't know the true face of their associates in Kenabres. We learned the truth much later, after getting to the bottom of their nests. How did the people of Kenabres feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from the other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There were already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their superstitions, Mendev is as merciless as Laswell. They just have different sets of victims. I keep seeing those same sideward look and scowls, hearing the familiar whispers, but where they once used a whisper to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of the humiliation, to rub the spit from your face and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now that I'm talking about tieflings. It's true that there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders, and our fighters that do all they can to drive those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them earliest spawn, or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the call of one's blood and join the forces of good. Still, I must only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change that in all my time in Kenabres. Tell me about Anevia. But in Taimon, as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another, we returned to Kenabres together to expose the Temple of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anevia isn't just my beloved, she's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then, the day Kenabres fell. Before her return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. Mirroring your death. Thank you for your answers. I have to go. Because I actually have to leave the area now. We actually have to go on some quests and stuff. First we need to do is drop the count from our party for a few minutes. I pressed the wrong button. Damn it.